you know, essentially requirements regarding the DepEd budget. So are we saying here that they followed the letter of the law but not the spirit of the law? Kasi parang they just, sh- they just a little bit shuffled the budget of the other side just so that DepEd is higher, right? And then I want to also ask, given how inefficient Sarah was, napaka-inefficient niya. Well, we know saan siya efficient. We can have a whole Mary Grace Piatos discussion on that. But where she was very inefficient was spending the budget allocated to her, 'di ba? Napakababa yung investment rate ng DepEd, no? Doon sa mga pangangailangan ng DepEd. Um Given that history, did it make sense for DepEd's budget to be significantly increased at all? Is the current budget allocation reasonable? Kasi ang tinitingnan ko rin dito, absorption capacity. Baka naman talaga meron tayong absorption capacity. Or are we saying dahil hindi na si Sara ang presidente at someone like Sonny Angara, who is more of a finance numbers guy, at least compared to Sara, perhaps the DepEd deserved more than that, and all they had to do was just to follow the letter of the law, but undermine the spirit of the law in terms of supporting DepEd as the most important department of the government.
Well, I think if the issue is brought to the Supreme Court, it will be very difficult to say that uh, the the priority that should be given to the highest priority that should be given to DepEd has been violated because in terms of numbers, the DepEd now has the highest budgetary allocation. But what is wrong with the action of Congress in not giving any budgetary allocation to DepEd for computerization because the former DepEd secretary did not utilize her budget for this. I mean, why punish the students? Why punish the students for the fault or inefficiency of the
Yeah.
previous DepEd secretary? I mean,
And you
that's
have
the
a new one,
wrong.
right? Justice, I mean, you have a new one in Sonny Angara who
Yeah,
comes from the Congress and Senate. I mean, he's one
yeah.
of them. I mean, why did they do this to him?
Not only to him but to the students. I mean, because we are already falling behind in terms of educating our youth. We're probably in the bottom of the list in Asia now or in the world.
Oh, in the world, kasi more than
Yes.
90% yung literacy deficiency natin based on World Bank. That's I mean, that's Congo level. I mean, no offense. That's
Yes.
sub-Saharan level. Yeah.
Yeah. So they should they should provide computers because that's the way you learn now. But they punish the students. I don't think the department secretary is not being punished because he's already completed his education, but the youth will not be able to complete their education because they don't have the computers. So they are really punishing the students, not the department officials.
Just to be clear, this Justice, maybe I know more about the US, more know about the US than the Philippines. But in the US kasi malakas yung mga teachers union and all, 'di ba? Of course there are certain restrictions on unionization in certain critical sectors. But alam ko in the US, for instance, very strong lobby yung teachers unions, right? Or teachers organization. Wala pa tayong ganito sa Pilipinas because we're talking about a million people, right? More or less working with the DepEd at different levels, including a lot of public school teachers. So shouldn't they make noise? Shouldn't they mobilize? What is the legality, constitutionality around that in the Philippine context?
Well, of course, the Parents Teachers Association should be complaining, no? But there's another angle here, Richard, because a report just came out that the Special Education Fund, the SEF, that's part of our, whenever we pay a real estate tax, there's a portion there that goes to the Special Education Fund that's supposed to buy, to improve the classroom and the equipment of schools, public schools in that town, in that city or municipality. But it turns out that this fund have accumulated, and they're not being utilized fully. per the latest COA report. So, uh, I mean, we should find a way to convince and to prod and to pressure the local school boards to use these funds, because these funds can be used to build the classrooms,
Yeah,
to
infrastructure.
improve the teaching materials in the classroom, even computers. So I don't know why uh, we have unutilized funds. Uh, the, you have towns there like Muntinlupa, like uh, Quezon City. They have funds. When we pay a real estate taxes, a part of that goes to the special education fund that's supposed to improve the teaching facilities in that area, in the public schools in that area. So uh, the funds are just lying there, idle. So I think it's a crime
Ano
to
ba yung
maintain
dahilan
that.
na justice? Because uh, obviously the pedestrian understanding of fiscal issue is nakawan lang yan, unahan lang yan, ganyan yan. But how can we help people understand itong underutilization, underspending phenomenon? Is this an institutional absorption capacity issue? Is this just generalized incompetence by LGUs and some of the government units to make use of the money that was allocated to them? May pagkakulang ba in terms of the legislators making sure that the money they give can be absorbed properly and implemented, na kumbaga tumutugma yung batas at yung mga allocations doon sa mga katotohanan on the ground? What is your read on that, Justice Carpio? What is
Well,
this understanding?
a group of my friends were trying to examine this because the money is there, the need for the money is there, but they're not spending it. So we are trying to understand this phenomenon, and we have agreed that we'll look into this and propose solutions, because this is a waste of resources. The money is there to build classrooms, and yet we lack classrooms. So uh, I think we have to look into this, and I'm asking my friends to look into this, and we're looking into this.
Well, I mean, going back to this, obviously, you were in the Supreme Court when you made a decision on this issue. Yung disbursement acceleration program, the whole DAP during the Pinoy Times logic or rationale supposedly was that ito yung paraan kung saan ang executive branch can help to plug in underspending when clearly hindi tumutugma yung gusto ng legislatura at saka yung kakayahanan ng mga government officials on the ground. Now, obviously, I understand you struck it down because you saw it as a usurpation of the power of the purse of the Congress. I understand that, but don't we need something along the lines of a DAP that does not usurp the constitutional mandate of the Congress? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, can we have a kind of a better version of a DAP? Is that something we can look at here?
Well, we in the PDAF and DAP, the basis there is that Congress should appropriate, and the executive will implement. I mean, Congress cannot tell the executive how to implement. That's the function of the executive. And what happened there was that the Congress passed a law saying that they can recommend where the funds will go. I mean, that's not a law, that's implementation already. So we struck it down. And also, the Congress created a lump sum. Uh, they will, let's say, appropriate 100 billion for various projects. That cannot be done because you have to put there the purpose. You cannot just say this fund will be used for any purpose that the executive wants. No, it has to be for a specific purpose. Uh, so those were the grounds for invalidating the acts of Congress. Uh, but now I haven't looked at the present GA, but I'm hearing that there is an item there for various infrastructure projects. I think that is susceptible to constitutional challenge because that's a lump sum. Because you can put that in rock netting, in uh, reflectorized cat's eye, and so on. And the purpose is that of the Constitution is that when you appropriate, you must put there the purpose of the appropriation because that's the role of Congress. And then to implement that will be the executive. There's a check and balance.
So, could there be a certain degree of discretion in terms of like the general purposes by the Congress, but in terms of particularity and realities on the ground? I know I'm a little bit pushing the boundaries here, but I'm just trying to understand how can we get out of this deadlock eh? Because matagal na natin itong problema ng hindi lang corruption eh, but the underspending. It's like
Well,
a twin evils, right? This is a
well,
twin evil.
it's not really a deadlock, Richard, because the Congress can easily itemize the allocation of 1 billion, X percent, let's say, to uh, school buildings, X percent to uh, computer equipment, and so on. They can itemize it, but they prefer to have a lump sum uh, so they can uh, have more flexibility to give it to soft projects.
Can we spell it out a little bit more? Just it's like I think nagigets ng tao yung nangyayari dito sa conversation. Like,
Well,
can we spell it out a bit? Yeah.
they want flood control projects because you cannot monitor it and because unfortunately for them the floods arrived and the flood control projects didn't work, but and then they want rock netting. I mean, they want to put nets on to prevent landslides, and they also want this reflectorized cat's eye all over our highways. It looks like that those are the soft projects that
Sino
I'm
bang mga
saying.
na sino bang mga kumpanya diyan na like you can connect the dots like I see where this is going. I see it where it is going. I mean, ang una-una natin kailangan, Justice Carpet, di ba? Kailangan natin i-audit what happened with billions of dollars we spent on flood control, which obviously didn't work, right? Like something is going on. Someone is not auditing the quality. Mukhang ano na to eh, medyo leakage ang nangyari dyan, no?
Well, that's a problem. That's why we well we have to create different checking mechanisms for all of this, uh, and I've been suggesting that uh, the contractor should give a guarantee, a warranty, how long that dam will last, or how long that road will be free of potholes. Will so you win the bid not only if you are the lowest bidder, but also if you provide the longest warranty. And you have to put up a bond in case you breach your warranty, you do not comply with your warranty, and then normally the bond will come from the GSIS, and the GSIS will require you to put up hard collateral like your house. So right now they build the road. If the rains come, the roads are washed away, and everybody forgets about the liability of the contractor. So
They
we
have to have
do.
skin in the game. They have to have skin in the game. There has to be some culpability.
Yes.
At least financially, if not worse, right? Kasi hindi pwede, di ganon kung sinong bara-bara na lang pwede gumawa. Basta mura lang, di ba? Baka tayong dalawa, pwede tayong mag-contractor, di ba? Just Scorpio, basta. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous, right? This is a serious matter. Billions ang ginastos dito over the past few years lang on this fraud control, which clearly didn't work. So something is going on.
Yeah,
Something is going on.
they tried to correct it by saying now it's no longer the lowest bidder, but they will look at the other qualifications. But still, it's the same, unless you really require a warranty, a bond. So if the road is washed away, then the contractor, if he doesn't redo the work, his house will be forfeited by the GSIS. So we have to add more safeguards because the existing safeguards do not work.
Yeah, so there should be some sort of collateral, there should be some sort of insurance or guarantee in that sense. Ang concern ko lang, Justice Carpio, pag ginawa natin yan, biglang maraming contractor na nasa Abu Dhabi. Baka pipila sila kay Harry. Baka lahat ng mga pogo, contractor, biglang lang haba ng pila dyan na biglang hindi nagpapakita. Justice Carpio. No, actually, this is a serious issue, no? So much money has been spent, so much kapalpakan. Now, obviously, maybe I'm sure they'll try to play games by saying, oh, etong baha na to ay once in a century, so hindi ito cover, force majeure. I know there'll be a lot of mumbo jumbo. That's why we need the fine print, no? To get it right. But let's be honest, Justice, it looks like, unfortunately, a lot of politicians there have no interest in these contractors having their skin in the game because I think people can connect the dots, right? It's really it's a mafia business, right? Justice, it looks like a mafia operation essentially.
Yeah, and for me, the way I look at it, this is the reason why we are lagging behind in infrastructure in ASEAN. Because while when they build their roads and bridges and skyways, those roads, bridges, and skyways remain. They're stable. I mean, they don't get washed away. But we we waste it because the roads are washed away, and so we have to spend money again to rebuild the bridge or the road. So
Or yung magandang road sinisira, ulitin nila. I mean,
reblocking, that's the
yeah,
new
and that's the worst, right? Ang ganda ng asphalt, yung black asphalt na pang racing, gagawin simento the next year. That's the most ridiculous thing.
yeah, they call that reblocking, and it looks like they like it because when you do reblocking, uh, you spend less because you use the crushed cement as your base, and you just put
Oh, yeah.
an overlay. So I mean, it's like the circumferential road in Lanao Lake. I mean, uh, it took a long, long time before it could be finished after several budgets. No,
It's a
so
scam.
I think
Budol, yeah.
we will be left behind in infrastructure. So if you go to other ASEAN countries, you just
Yeah,
envy
Vietnam,
their highways, their
yeah,
bridges, their
Thailand.
airports, while ours get dilapidated.
Or once we get nice airports, sobrang mahal. Sobrang dami tax na. Yung naiyawan na nga di pa nga pinagandaan. Umakyat lahat ng presyo. Yung airport tax, yung parking fee. Um, yeah, it's budul after budul after budul. And I think this is talagang, ito talagang ating, isa sa ating mga dilemmas. But just as I want to ask also, was this year's budget, which was what? I mean, like 10% higher than projected, was that a lot of that about elections? Because the the explanation I hear is kailangan natin yan to boost our economic growth dahil our GDP growth rates were quite below target sa first and second quarter, di ba? So the official explanation is we need to pump prime the economy. Well, ano pang pina-pump prime natin dito, Justice?
Well, normally public works will is a good pump priming activity, but if the funds are used properly, I mean, but if the leakage is 70%, then you're falling behind because you have to pay for this. Remember, about 60% of our budget come from borrowed money, and that means if you utilize only 30% of what you borrow, but you have to pay 100% plus interest,
Plus
you will
interest,
fall
yeah.
behind.
Jesus Christ, yeah, exactly. It's not good at all. Um, can something be done about this, Justice? Kasi matagal na itong issue na ito Pork barrel, ay itong mga skandalo na ito. But for some reason, things are not fundamentally changing, Justice. Nagkakaroon ba
Well,
tayo ng kilusan? I mean, are we seeing convergence of forces to get things together? I mean,
well, my suggestion is that all contractors must give a warranty, and the warranty must be backed up by hard collateral. So, in other words, if the project is a failure, then they lose their shirt. If the road turns out to be uh, of bad material. They use very thin cement, and so the rain just wash it away when the rains come. Then they will lose their shirt, and then that will now, because nobody would want to be in that situation. So they would now start to make it sure that the the roads are well built. No, but
Well,
right now
hmm.
they just disappear, and there's no penalty for them.
Ang thing ko kasi is just is this is anecdotal but I think trusted enough. There are contractors who tell us that the reason why they have to use substandard quality is because sa daming mga kaltas, including unofficial kaltas and commissions right and left, sobrang konti na lang natitira. Like at the end, like baka 20% na lang
Yeah,
natitira. Right? So,
that
like squeeze din yung mga contractors, kawawa din daw sila.
yeah, that's the situation. But the contractor should be held accountable for that. In other words, we have to make sure that they can make that excuse. So if their hard collateral are put at stake as a warranty, then they will tell whoever is asking money from them, I cannot do it. Sorry, because all my hard-earned assets will be forfeited, will be foreclosed, and so nobody will accept, because before you can get the contract, you must submit a hard collateral to back up your warranty. So then that will start uh, the new contractors will come in who will not play games with the politicians or the DPWH people.
And maybe they will have an incentive to booking if they're being pressed in the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
So you might create a new sets of incentives and dynamic. Now, just I want to go to the ombudsman issue because soon we're supposed to have a new ombudsman, and a big part of ombudsman is to hold accountable abusive politicians. But before going there, I want to focus on the PhilHealth issue. I'm not seeing as much political backlash from millions of people who could be directly affected by PhilHealth. The mostly I can see is like people like you, PhilHealth professionals, activists, among other things. Uh, but how do you think we can get more people on board? Like how can we remind people na Diyos ko, ito yung kinabukasan ng lahat, diba? This is our healthcare system for heaven's sake, right? Everyone will need it.
Well, we just have to keep on explaining what's happening, Richard, because uh, this is not an easy thing to understand. So we will just have to really explain some more. And I think we're gaining ground. Uh, the people are talking about it already, uh, and we just have to keep on going to go out and explain what's happening.
And the Supreme Court can come in eventually and correct this?
Yeah, that's the culmination of our work, because if the Supreme Court says that the uh, Congress uh, cannot authorize the Secretary of Finance to transfer funds to PhilHealth because there are special funds. These funds can be used only for PhilHealth purposes to achieve the purposes of PhilHealth. Then we've set things straight already. They will not dip their fingers into the PhilHealth funds anymore.
And
So
and
we're waiting
and the
really. The
zero
solution
budget will
here,
be reversed. And can it be reversed? Is there a precedence for that?
well, the Supreme Court will say it's unconstitutional if they think that there's really a violation, and therefore the funds that are still there will have to be returned, and the funds that were spent, if they were spent uh, irregularly, the people who responsible for spending them regularly could be liable.
And when are we expecting the Supreme Court? I mean, you were saying January, right? But there's a first
Well, there will be oral arguments this February.
February. Oof. Elections na yun. Wow. Interesting times. Oh, wow. I'm sure many will follow that Supreme Court, especially those who want to bash the government or have a reason in this. I want to ask another question on this issue, Justice, before we go to the ombudsman issue. Um, how do we make sure na hindi sinasakyan ng mga opportunist elements? I mean, itago natin sa mga pangalan na DDS itong issue na ito because these are legitimate questions we're raising about the fiscal practices of the BBM administration, but clearly pinagpipiyastahan ng mga Piatos and Mary Grace and those kinds of people.